Hello there, this is Rom Wills coming back at you with yet another video. Today I'm going to talk about black men and non-black women, the real deal. Yeah, oh man. And I know this is an old topic. I mean, this been going back in the day and whatnot. I mean, I remember my grandmother was telling me about complaining about one of her cousins when she was young, and when we say young, like the 1920s and 30s and stuff, who was with a white woman. So this is an old one, but I want to give a different perspective on it because one of the issues I see is that when it's talked about, it's usually looked at from either a pathological point of view, talking about these black men got self-hatred, they hate their mothers and all of that stuff, and or they hate black women, and that's why they chase these women, or they'll just get whoever. People talking about white women being held up, or really any type of woman other than a black woman. But that's not really the case. And I always think back to what my grandmother had said about it. And she anybody who's heard me talk about my grandmother will know she was a straight talker. It was blunt. And she said, I always remember, she kind of just broke it down to its pure essence. And she said, the only reason a black man to get a white woman is that he can't get a black woman. And I know some people will take that wrong, but sometimes you gotta listen to stuff and don't be in your feelings about it and really think about it. Now, the real deal with black men, not just even getting with white women, but also Asian women, Hispanic women, women other than black women, really comes down to the black female selection criteria. Oh yeah, we got to go there. We got to go back to that whole select and non-select piece. And for those who hadn't bothered to watch the videos, basically, well, all women of all racial groups put men into two categories for dating and relationships and sex. That's select and non-select. The select guys, hey, they get the favors, they get the best from the women. The women will have wild sex with them, will cook for them, will even submit to them. The men who are non-select, they don't get those things. They don't get those things. Now, this is something that's in all communities, as I said. In communities outside the black community, they'll just use the terms alpha male and beta male. So, that's just understanding along those terms. Everybody has a sense of it. Everybody can see that women have a double standard on how they'll treat a man. Like, one woman will treat a man very poorly, one man very poorly, and and have an attitude with him, and the other one, she'll be sweetness and light. Now, what does this have to do with interracial relationships? Well, if we look at the black female selection criteria and the criteria that the overwhelming majority of black women use to choose a man, you start to see some things. One is very narrow, and usually to be in the select within the black community, or be a select man, you generally have to be very good looking, physically good looking. The physical thing, I just did a video on that. That physical thing is very important, and that was borne out by women who were professional matchmakers. We can't get around that. So, man has to be physically appealing, usually handsome, but that could be offset. A handsome face can be offset by being either tall or muscular, but it's still a physical thing. Usually, in general, has to have some money, has to have that that mystical thing called swag. Depending on the community, might have to have a certain complexion. And I might have to do a video on colorism against black men, because it is an interesting thing, because both light-skinned men and chocolate men get discriminated against based on color. Isn't that just one way? But I digress. So, what the bottom line is, it's a narrow field of black men who are considered select by American black women. Brothers, the brothers who don't make that cut, they get called lame, they get called corny. The women, if the women do deal with them, they deal with them, they don't give them the best. These men aren't the priority. Now, what does this have to do with non-black women? Very simple. Many of the black men who are non-select among black women are select with other groups of women. Let me say that again. Many of the black men who are non-select with American black women are select with women of other races and cultures. And that's a very important thing. See, one of the things in the discussion about why black men deal with non-black women is, as I said at the beginning, it's always from a pathological perspective. Like something's wrong with the man. And nobody's ever asking, well, what is the man getting out of this? The man is getting out of it is he gets to feel like what it's like to be Mr. Goodbar. He gets to feel like what it's like to be the top dog. Because that's the one thing no one talks about in these relationships. People ain't asking the one question. How are these women treating these men? That's the question. That's the only question. See, the one thing about a man, and I've done a video on this. You give us peace. Basically we get along, you cool, you treat us well. A man is going to gravitate towards the women who treat them well. Even if they initially don't have a strong attraction to that type of woman. It's like an example I used in that peace video. A man could have a drop dead gorgeous wife, but if she's giving him hell and everything, that waitress at the diner who's not as good looking starts to look real good. And that's the same thing. One of the things I've done, and I think I mentioned this in another video, and I'll mention it here again. Even before I started writing relationship books, I started just talking with brothers who were in interracial relationships. I remember one brother, right? And he said something, and it made me feel bad. I was like, damn, if this dude's crossing over, shit, what chance do I have? Now check it out. This dude was like a bodybuilding Malcolm X type. That dude actually looked like Malcolm X. That dude very serious, very sharp brother, but also very muscular, right? And he was even over 6 feet. He was about 6'2". Very serious minded, very sharp. An attorney somewhere now, probably, unless he got into something else. All right. And I remember we were having a conversation and he said something to me in Spanish. And I was like, hey, how you know Spanish, man? And he said, my wife speaks it. I said, your wife? And he's like, yeah, she's Mexican. And I looked at him, and I'll never forget, I looked at him, I said, damn. Now, this looked like the type of brother who would be select with black women. And I was like, I was like, straight up, I was like, dude, no disrespect, how'd you end up with a Mexican woman? And he said the sisters didn't want him because he wasn't making enough money. I was like, damn. Even though that dude, as an attorney, started off as a high grade in the government, and is probably, and unless something seriously happened or he decided to become a monk or something, that dude's making money out the wazoo. If I remember his last name, I'll look him up. But when I heard that, I was like, damn. And but it was that selection criteria. He just didn't make the cut. And a lot of men don't make it because they might not have enough money at a certain period. Or, once again, they like that swag or, whatever gets black men into the select category. But, they don't disappear. They don't disappear at all. And see, the thing is, one person's trash is another person's treasure. And one of the things people don't understand, a lot of women don't get, and even some brothers who are against black men dating interracially, right? They act like these brothers are just chasing these women of other cultures and races down. That's not the case. That's not the case at all. In the overwhelming majority of these cases, the times I've interviewed brothers and the times I've just witnessed, it's usually the woman of the other culture that made some move towards that brother. Like a blatant choice, blatant choosing signals, if they didn't just outright just approach. And for the man, for the black man that's been facing constant rejection, man, that's like a glass of cold water after being in the desert for about 10 hours. It's something different. And even if that brother might not be attracted to women, outside of black women, he's going to pay attention. And if somebody approaching you, and unless they just hideous, you won't pay attention. And they showing interest in you. And one thing I've noticed with a lot of these couples, and I've heard, and I've talked with a lot of, and I've found something interesting. I've talked with a lot of women, non-black women who are either dating black men or have dated. And it's funny what they say. They always talk about, the guy's looks. Now, they'll say, "Oh, he looks great. He's handsome," and they'll tell the guys that, right? And I personally, and I've kind of gone on record as saying, yeah, that's cool, but it has to be balanced. But then they'll see other things about the man as well. But here's the thing, and even with the looks thing, right? A lot of these men have not heard that from their sisters. You get some brother who's, maybe he's not like 6 feet, maybe he's like 5'9", and maybe he's not as muscular. All of a sudden, some woman, she might be Latina or something. It's like, "Oh, yeah, Poppy, you hot," or whatever they say. Shoot, that's gonna make him feel some type of way. And yeah, she might, that non-black woman might not have that but dunk on him that a brother like. But shoot, if somebody treating you well, and then they treating you like you Mr. Good Bar, and they trying to cook for you and cater to you and stuff, shoot, you want to be like, damn, well, the badunk ain't everything. and that's the thing. And see, here's the thing: a lot of brothers have said this. A lot of brothers, if I did the previous video, a couple videos ago, I did about the problem with black relationship solution discussions. One of the biggest things is a lot of people don't want to listen to these brothers. And here's what's deep about that. Here's what's deep. It's not even just the sisters not listening. Sometimes there's a lot of brothers out there who, they're all about the sisters and all of that. And some of them are Captain Sav'ems, but then some of them are just guys who were solidly select for most of their lives. And they don't have a concept that black women would really reject a brother like that. They really don't. They might have faced some rejection, but for the most part, black women have been showing them love. Ever since that, that teacher been sucking their dick since they were 15. So they don't have a concept of it. So it's like it's hard for them to understand a brother like, not feeling the sisters. Or, going for that other woman. That's, and that's why you get a lot of brothers and they open about it. But if you listen to their stories, and this is what I always say, listen to their stories, stop judging them and just talk to them. They'll tell you, then you don't have to listen to Ron. You don't have to believe me. In fact, I don't want you to believe me. Talk to them. See, the thing is, I always talk to them. I always talk to them. If somebody has an experience that I might not have experienced, okay, I'll just talk to them. I'll just say, all right, let me see what they talking about. I don't judge them. See, too many of these brothers get judged doing it. And it's like, nah, don't judge. You got to think about it. What choice, what they supposed to do? They supposed to wait on a group of women who have let them know in blunt ways that they're not among the select group of men. Or they go for this Asian woman who's like looking at him with love in their eyes. And I've seen that. I've seen that with a lot. I've seen that with a lot of brothers. I know how they were dealing with the sisters and they were having a struggle, but all of a sudden they meet this woman of another race or culture, and they being treated differently. And that's all it is. That's all it is. They become select. Now, this ain't to say the relationships are perfect. Oh no. Everything got its challenges, but it's just a different vibe. It's something that these guys haven't experienced, and so they experience it. So hey, that woman gets real good looking to them, and that's all it is. That's all it is. They find that right person, because when you get down to it, in the culture we have today, it's going to be, people just gotta get with the person who's best for them, and that person might not always be their race. And before, like, someone who promotes swirling get on here, if you really look at that swirling video again that I did, I specifically said I've known several black women who've gotten with men of other races, and they were cool. They just didn't put down. They ain't need to put down brothers, and that's the only thing I'll say. That's the only thing I say. If a brother gets with a woman of another race, you don't need to put down sisters. Just be happy. Leave them alone. You don't have to start in on them. Just leave them the fuck alone. Be happy with the woman you got. That's all I would say about that. Just like don't even give them the energy. You found that person who's feeling you, who's treating you right. Don't give anybody negative the energy, because there's nothing you're gonna say that's gonna make them happy anyway. And it's funny with that, and let me say something. Let me say something about that too. One of the things I used to encounter, I don't encounter it as much, but one thing I used to, it would be times back in the day I'd be out on a date or something like that, and the sister with me would see an interracial couple. Usually most cases a brother with a white woman, right? And they'll suck their teeth, get all mad and all of that. And I always challenged them. I said, all right, if that same brother was by himself, would you even give him a second look? And I've asked dozens of women that question over the years. And only one time did a woman come back to me, and this was years after I first challenged her on that question. That was years. I'm saying years after I first challenged her, and she came back and said, "Ron, I saw a black man that was with a white woman, but I would have got with him one time." And so, don't trip over it. Don't trip over it. If you don't want, look, this is for the sisters who have an issue with these brothers dealing with non-black women. And the brothers, the brothers who got an issue with it too. For the brothers, it ain't you. Don't worry, that's their life. All right, that's the first thing. That's their life. Don't worry about another man. Hi, if he happy, you not that man. All right, don't worry about it. For the sisters, ask yourself something. Would you really want that brother? And don't say you want him, like, because a lot of sisters will say, oh, he's spending that money on her or something. All of a sudden you get real attracted because, that jealousy thing kicks in. It's like, no, just ask yourself, if you saw him alone, would you want him? And if you don't, what, let him do his thing. Just let him do his thing. But, that's what it comes down to. He gets to be select. And the person might be right for him. Alright? So, anyway. That's it for this video. I'll get back with y'all later. My brother gotta go get some scrimp.